right, everybody, we are back with another episode of Pristine Connections podcast with Joshua Koehn. It's Koehn, right?
Yes, Koehn.
Okay, I don't know why I want to say Koehn.
It just looks like if you've seen it once, you just can't get it out of your head.
I know, so that's just naturally, that's your name in my phone.
Yeah.
So we did a deep dive into, you starting the networking group, all of your businesses that you're doing, but I want to focus just kind of on the education piece and just really learn about each of your businesses, and just kind of the ins and outs of the networking group that you've been doing too. So, what projects have you been taking on the most for the roofing side right now?
So right now it's been pretty much, we started this last month with a lot of cash jobs, just people that didn't qualify for insurance. They just needed the deal to move really quickly because they were selling the house. And so kind of, got some good production going with that, but now we're heavily into the insurance side of things now because we've had storm 2 months ago that was very major over in Little Elm, Prosper, bits of Salina, pieces of Aubrey, a little bit of Frisco, and that's been keeping us pretty busy. And so we've got a lot of clientele from that on the landscaping side, and so we've been able to help a lot of the people that we've been doing mowing, landscaping, bigger projects, old customers, just let them know, hey, you can have us use your roofing repairs or replacements as well, and then that's been keeping us busy. But then now we have like Princeton, there's lots of stuff in Plano. There's some of the biggest damage I've seen for just straight wind because I've been called out to a couple jobs now to fix brick, it's not a retaining wall, but like brick walls, and then just blown right over.
Yeah.
And then we had a tornado, 2 weeks ago in Salina, took out an entire neighborhood, lots and lots of damage in the surrounding houses as well. So working on a couple of those as well. So just really trying to expand the team to take care of all those different avenues and help people out.
So you said cash payments because you're not getting approved for insurance. So talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah,
Why?
so it's not really that they're not getting approved. They just don't want to go through that because these are investment properties, and so their insurance works differently. So for a homeowner's insurance claim, if you make a claim, even if you make it 2 or 3 times, but it's an act of God, so it's a wind or hail claim, they can't count that against you. So they can't raise your premiums because of that. They can't deny you coverage because of that. But when it's an investment property, it's not your main homestead, then you have different requirements and problems that they can use that to get their money back later.
Yeah.
So
just
a different strategy. And so that's where you want to make sure you're working with a good roofing company. I am biased about Pristine Roofing and Outdoor Services, but so if you're going to use someone else, just make sure they know what they're talking about because most people will just, they're there for the paycheck. So if they can get you to start a claim and it sounds good on paper, like, yeah, someone else is going to pay for this, but if it's a business, that could actually hurt you more than help you.
Yeah, interesting perspective.
You need to know what the policy says and how that works.
Yeah, I see a lot of posts just from different roofing companies that are like claim filed, and celebrating claims being filed. So you're saying it's not necessarily
when it
a
comes
great
to
thing.
businesses and investment properties, that can be a different story. Once again, it just depends. Everything's different with the way it's set up. It's very different. So you've got a strip mall versus like an investment property. They're both considered commercial essentially because they're used for business purposes, but they have different coverage.
Okay. So you had been talking about these hail-resistant shingles. I know there's a ton of different shingles you can use on a property, but talk a little bit about those.
Yeah, so what a lot of people that we try to upgrade them into is going from just your basic 30-year shingle, which is, with 90% of houses in the Dallas area that you're going to see is just it's a shingle that is an asphalt shingle. It's got a fiberglass base, and the purpose of that is to last for, out here if there was no hail, there's just like the how hot and everything, 15 to 20 years is what it should last on there. But most roofs in Texas get hit by hail somewhere before that 15-year mark, and that damages them to the point where they need to get replaced early. Because what happens is you have a granule top layer that protects the asphalt underneath from the sun's UV rays. And so when hail comes in and hits that spot, whether it's really small, sometimes they're really big, and they actually have a hole inside the shingle. But if it's just knocking the granules off and cracking the fiberglass base, the UV rays can now break down the asphalt that's hidden below. That is the water slicking side of things. That's what makes it so water can't penetrate through the shingle and go into the house. And so the sun within the next, it's about 18 months to 2 years or so, it'll erode that away. And then now it can go the water can go down into the crack that's opened up from when the hail hit it 2 years before, and can slowly leak into the house and cause, but each individual one wouldn't be that big of a deal, but if you have one hail hit, you probably have 100 plus more, and so they're just all over the place on your roof.
Yeah.
Having this slowly degrade, and then so if you see some of these roofs where they don't get a hail claim, as little as 2 years later, there's just white dots that you can visibly see from the street. So you're looking up on top of the roof, you can just see it's just splattered with, looks like bird poop or something all over the roof, and that's what that is. It's the fiberglass base. There's a big hole now, basically going in, and at that point, the insurance company won't cover it. So.
Yeah.
A newer product that's been around for a while, but it's really taking hold in Texas is your Class 4 shingle. So the Class 4, instead of using just an asphalt base, it has more of like a rubber type consistency. So that when the hail hits it, instead of it being brittle and cracking or breaking off the granules, it can absorb that impact and take much, much bigger. So instead of having something like maybe a golf ball be pretty major, it can take more like a baseball to a softball before it's really going to have a big impact.
Yeah.
And actually need to be replaced. Now, those shingles aren't a guarantee that you're not going to have hail damage. It's not going to be, the roof's going to last twice as long. It's just, it's going to, if you get a major hailstorm, the hail doesn't care what's below it. I mean, it'll go through, I've seen it go through roofs before, where it can go through the decking, go through the shingle, and just actually like end up in your attic. And so if it's something that big, it can still happen, but it's very rare for that to happen. And so these Class 4 shingles can protect your house a lot longer. They're thicker as well, so like it's harder for them to break, as well as it'll absorb the impact. And then what happens is you also, so they cost a little bit more money up front because it's not something the insurance company covers.
I was going to say, I was going to
But
ask.
for $3,000 to $4,000 or $5,000, depending on how big your house is, you can upgrade to that shingle because you're already replacing the roof. So it's very cheap to do it at that point when insurance is paying for the replacement. But what will happen is, normally when you replace your roof, because now your shingle is fresh, you actually get a insurance premium break because of the new roof. But so that what we've seen is somewhere between like a 10 to 15% decrease once you let the insurance company know you have a new roof, and they'll actually, even though they paid for it, they will reduce the cost of your yearly premiums. But if you have an impact-resistant shingle, that can add another 10 to 15% on top of that.
Yeah.
So now you're talking about potentially a 30% savings, and everybody's insurance is going through the roof. So it's going up by 30%. You can offset this, or maybe even by more in savings by just changing your shingle.
Yeah.
So you change your roof less, you save on your insurance, tons of benefits on that, for sure.
That's great. So, I mean, does it make sense for most like homeowners in North Texas, just because we do see
Big time.
so much hail?
Oh, yeah.
Especially larger. I feel like this season we've just had such large hail compared to like the normal.
And it's not even this season. It's been for the last 2 or 3 years. And some people have been getting hit, and it's been like 3 or 4 years, and they're getting hit again.
Yeah.
And so there's some areas that got hit in 2016 that got hit again in 2019, and then they got hit in 2023. And they weren't massive hail, but they were, probably an 1.5 to 2 inch golf ball sized hail.
Yeah.
Where on a normal shingle, even though it's fresh, is still going to cause enough damage that it needs to get replaced.
Sure.
And where if you had a Class 4 shingle, you could have gone through all 3 of those storms and been okay.
Yeah.
And that would have
So-
saved the deductible for your side. It would have saved the insurance money on the other side as well. And so they're seeing that how big of a difference that it is, and they want to incentivize people to do that.
Yeah. So we all need to upgrade, and then maybe our insurance will be a little bit lower.
Yeah.
across the board.
Fight the system with an impact-resistant shingle.
Yes, I mean, it makes sense, and I think that'd be, it's just really selling the benefits of it, just costing a little bit more upfront, just to kind of, hopefully not have
It's an
these
investment
issues.
in your property. I mean, the
Sure.
roof is what is protecting most people's largest investment.
Yeah.
It's a very important piece of the system.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, have you seen a lot of sales, since then?
I would say probably a good 30 to 50% of people, once we show them what the options and how cheap it is. Because when I start talking about impact-resistant shingle, it's twice as thick, it's heavier. It sounds like something's going to cost like $10,000, and it's not. It's very reasonable. Somewhere between, for the average house, $3,000 to $5,000 is all that it is. And so you get a much better system that's going to last longer. And then if you think about that, well, your deductible is like $6,000 to $10,000, $15,000. And it stops you from using that just once, more than paid itself off. Plus, it's going to last longer in the long term as well.
Yeah. Well, even especially just ice, we have surprisingly a lot of damage from ice because it's not like we get snow here.
Yeah.
We get the worst of it. I think that would help in a way, in a sense, leaking. So you kind of talked about landscaping and roofing projects together. So how do you like to tie those in for your companies?
So basically, roofing is what we've been doing longer. So I started that in 2019.
Okay.
And landscaping was a way to kind of bridge the gap in time, because I upgrade you to a class 4 shingle. It went from, we're not talking every 10 years to we might not talk for 15 years now.
Yeah.
And so that's a long time. You might forget who we are. Are we still in business? And just by itself, waiting 15 years means we got to wait 15 years before we can do business again.
Yeah.
So landscaping is a way where we can come by each week and do your grass mowing, do bush trimming every 3 months, do flowers or mulch once a year, and then do a large project like stonework, flower bed edging, drainage, things like that. Something in the front yard, something in the backyard, and then somewhere in there, you know we're still here and around because you can see us on the landscaping side. Or some people, like in this case, called us out for landscaping. I came out, give them a quote. It was pretty much doing their whole backyard to like a xeriscape type setting. With like paths, we had some French drains, we did concrete, like a stamped concrete, some stone borders, made a fire pit area, some new flower beds in there. And, but I could see when I was in his backyard, his whole fence was something we call splatter from hail. And it's just like these little white dots all over the place where it knocked off the stain on it. And so I said, hey, this looks like a major storm has happened. Have you had someone check out your roof? And they were actually out of town when the storm had happened. And I guess it's like 2.5 months now when that happened. And so they looked up and like, I don't know. Like,
sure.
I'm not sure. And so basically they'd seen like there'd been other roofers working in the area. They just didn't know why. And now they knew. And so we set up an appointment, looked at the roof, blasted with hail.
Yeah.
It was all over the gutters. Broken a window actually, like on one of the panes. It was cracked on there. AC units, nothing leaked inside the house yet, but then of course the fence, the gutters, and so all that stuff we got replaced on there. And then because we were doing such a large deal, we were able to give them a package discount. And so in that case, it was like $4,000 off the landscaping project because we were doing the roofing as well.
Okay.
And so it turned it from just a landscaping project to the roofing side. And then we're starting to do the maintenance for them as well. So doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so we actually just finished their landscaping project probably about like 3 or 4 weeks ago. Put up their roof this last week, had a cookout at their house. It's just something for the neighbors to show appreciation for all the mess and debris that we've been, because we did not just the roof, we did the landscaping too. So we were there for a good week for the landscaping, and then they were day and a half for the roof. So cluttering up the streets with us.
Hopefully you picked up some more clients from that for sure, which is always a
they,
plus.
Yeah, they actually upgraded to the shingle, the class 4 shingle as well. They referred us to 2 of their neighbors already.
Perfect.
And so, kind of working in the community there now.
Yeah, it's literally just asking those questions like, hey, have you done this yet?
Yep.
Interesting.
Most people don't really look up. I mean, if you've ever come home, you don't sit there and go, man, that roof looks like it's got hail on it or not. Like most people don't know what to look for. And it is actually really hard to see hail from the ground anyways. And so the easiest way to see hail is actually through like gutters and your fence. If you go out and look at it and just see if there's little ding marks all over the place, that's a good sign that something has happened. But even as a roofer, for the most part, unless it's something really big, I can't see it from the ground either.
Yeah, you have to get up there.
That's why you just have to have someone come check it whenever there's a storm that happens, just to see what it is. Most of the time, it doesn't cost anything to look, but it could cost quite a bit if you don't do anything about it, and then it gets outside the time range that insurance will cover it, and now everything comes out of pocket.
Yeah, what's the time frame for insurance for people to file a claim?
It's changing, normally at least 9 months, normally max of like 12 months.
Okay.
And so if you don't make a claim after the storm happens, they can actually deny it as old damage in like a negligence. And the reason they do that is because, as I was explaining earlier, it takes 18 months to 2 years for a hail impact to turn into a leak. And so the insurance company, you can't blame them. They're just trying to mitigate damage. Like they want to make sure it doesn't get to the point that it's leaking, because I mean, I've had people where they have a $100,000 piano where a couple drops of water on it destroyed the piano. Like you can't fix that.
Right.
And so their $30,000, $40,000 roof just turned into a $150,000 claim. And that's if it's just a piano, let alone hitting some hardwood floors. I mean, you got to paint the ceiling, you got like insulation probably.
Yeah.
If it's a big enough leak, I mean, it could be like mitigation that's involved to dry the house out now and potential mold damage. And so they have to make sure people don't wait too long, because then they're liable for all the other things that could happen from it as well.
Yeah.
And so they give you a year, even though it's going to take 1.5 to 2 years for the damage to actually start really impacting the inside.
So how do you guys like to set yourself apart from other roofers? Because obviously with all the storms, there are a bajillion roofers out and about. So kind of just hone in on y'all's craft. Obviously you have a whole different approach and really celebrate your client, which is great. So just talk more about that.
So what we have that's different about this is we've got 5 years of experience. A lot of roofer companies don't make it through that. They are here for a year or two. They make just enough money and move on to something else, or because it's a bit of a cyclical, because of the storms, they make a lot of money the first 4 months and then drop off the revenue and they can't support for the rest of the year. Another thing that we do that's very different is we have W-2 employees. So most roofing companies, like 99% of their people from subcontractors and everything else, everyone's a 1099. So their sales guys are all 1099s. Technically, they don't actually work for the company.
Yeah.
They just sign paperwork in the name. So all of our guys are on payroll, and so we can hold them to a standard and making sure that they actually do everything the way that we want it done. And then also, like, they don't need to make decisions on your roof based upon just money, because they do have a guaranteed income that's coming in. So they don't have to sell the roof to make, pay their bills next month.
Yeah.
And so it makes it so that they can actually give you the right answers and not just the ones that they need. Like there's so many shady roofers out there that'll go out there and create the damage to make sure that there's enough there to get something done. And it's an unfortunate, it's only probably 20% of the roofers out there. It's not like it's everybody, but the 10 to 20% that do that give everybody else a bad name. And so that's one way that we like to ensure that we're not going to be those people, is they're all our staff.
Yeah.
So we've got an office to answer the phone. So if there's questions, managers in place for quality checking and making sure. We have something that we added on actually this week is we have a full-time repair person that anytime somebody calls to get repairs done, we have somebody on staff to take care of it.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
So we're not having to call up some third-party company to come in just to do repair, which makes it cheaper, quicker. And as well as, we're going to have the quality of it, because we have a warranty for our roofs as well. So we have a 50-year warranty. So if something comes up, we have somebody to go out and take care of it very quickly. And it's not something that can take a week or two to actually take care of it. Because if you find out there's a problem, 90% of the time it's because it's leaking.
Right.
There's water coming in.
Sure.
And so that way, recently with all the windstorms we've been having too, that way there's somebody to come fix things quickly. Well, because if you get a storm that's big enough to cause a leak, it's probably an insurance claim, but insurance claim can take a month before the time an adjuster comes out, money gets issued, and then the roof can get replaced. And so for short term, you need something that's a quick fix to come in and take care of it. And we know how to. We don't, if it's something we're starting a claim on, we don't have to bill you for that. We can just bill the insurance companies directly, and that makes everything streamlined. You're not coming out of pocket for, things that will get, like I've had a car claim before. If I want to go get my car repaired, I got to go pay for the repairs and they reimburse me on the back end. But that means I had to come out of pocket for, a short amount of time.
Which could be kind of detrimental to a lot of people.
And storms never happen when people are ready.
No.
It's always, like April, there wasn't really a lot of storms that happened. It was pretty mild, and so we're sitting there going, okay, maybe there's no storms this year. Everyone's starting to spend their vacation money, and then boom, a storm hits, and you're like, okay, well, now no vacation. We got to make a decision between the roof or doing that. Well, this helps with not having to make those decisions.
For sure, absolutely. So, talk about industry standards. Things have changed, I'm sure, in the 5 years that you've had your business. So can you kind of talk about that on the roofing side, landscaping side?
So a lot of stuff, that's where like with the impact resistant shingles, doing things like that, underlayments of pretty standardly synthetics now. So a lot of like the back end, like the way roofs are built, or the basics are the same, but the materials are getting better. The biggest thing that's been a big change is the insurance. They're a lot harder to fight with now to get roof replaced. They have higher deductibles. They charge more for the premiums and cover less. Definitely a lot of things changing in the industry right now because of that. So it's something that is going to have to get addressed soon, because you can't cover less and then charge more and then also have the out-of-pocket be more. Like you're pulling in three different directions, making it a worse deal for the customer. And at some point that's going to have to come to a head, and something has to level out. Someone needs to step in to take care of that.
Yeah, no kidding. So what are some trends that you're seeing in the landscaping industry? What are most homeowners looking for right now?
Yeah, so what a lot of people are looking for is more of the outdoor living. A lot of people want to have somewhere that they can have a patio that's covered, so that way it's cooler to be able to go out, and they want somewhere that they can cook out. Because grilling is, food tastes better, it's easier, it's cleaner. You don't have to clean up your kitchen and all the different pots and pans and such you would normally have from cooking. With a grill, it's a lot easier. And so being able to build that, recently this year, I think it's just because the amount of rain that's been coming down at one time, it's not been spread out over 3 months. We've had it in 3 weeks. So French drains have been a really popular thing recently, because there's so much water sitting, and your dogs and kids go out and play in it, and causes a lot of issues.
Yeah. I've noticed that with a lot of new developments too. I mean, nothing against the way, it's just, I guess, how the yard was, I don't know.
Every house should be built with a French drain with the way houses are laid out in Texas. Like every house should. But most of the time the builder will only add on what's called an ADS pipe. It's just like a flexible pipe that you can lay down. And it just goes from the gutter to like 5 feet away. And so it stops it from having any kind of like water washing out of all the dirt and grass and such right underneath of it, but it just moves the problem from sitting here to 5 feet over. So it's still not getting rid of the water in an effective way.
Yeah, we always notice standing water, just everywhere we go, which granted, like you said, it's rained so much in such a short period of time. Sometimes I'm like, is that inevitable?
Right. Yep, absolutely. So it's just that kind of stuff for sure. Something that we've been doing, it's a little bit newer as well, is like a steel metal edging. A lot of people are used to that being like a 4-inch border that goes through, like you can get it in like black, green, in like a tan cream kind of color. But you use like stakes to hold it in place. And so this is pretty cool because it's way better for like a modern look. It's stronger. Instead of it just being like a 14 gauge metal, it is a 1/2 inch steel plate essentially. About 8 inches high, 8 to 12 inches, and then we weld that together, and it gives you like a really good modern look that's simple, and it's actually cheaper than stone. And so for people that are looking, because like a lot of times when I come in, the first thing I'm asking is like, well, what are you looking for? What's kind of your criteria? What's the end goal of what the project is? And so a lot of people have been saying is like, well, everybody has stonework with like the masonry type look, or everybody has like moss rocks, or they have a natural border. Like, what's different? Like, how can I make my landscaping stand out more? And that's where the steel edging is really nice, because it has like a rustic finish, so you can kind of look as like more like a farmhouse type finish. Or if you square it off, put like rocks and like yuccas, grasses, things like that, then you have like a desert xeriscape type look that looks really good. And then you add that with some lighting and irrigation, and you have very low maintenance because there's no bushes to trim. There's like, maybe 2 hours of maintenance that you have each year besides weeding and such, just like for just trimming and stuff. You don't have to change the mulch out because there's rocks now. And some people say, well, rocks get too hot during the summertime. And they do get hot, but that's where if you have the right plants in there, they can withstand that, as well as if you just put a layer of mulch underneath the rocks, it'll soak up that water that will help retain it during the hot parts of the day. So that way it's constantly moist. And then as it breaks down during the wintertime, it's actually keeping it warm as well.
Interesting.
It's the insulation.
Yeah, I was going to say that I feel like the desert style is popular just for Texas because it's hard to keep plants alive.
After the freeze that happened a couple years ago, and then like last year was very hot, very dry. That definitely had some impact on people's decisions these days, and it's in high demand right now, as they want something that will last through both sides. And so yuccas are very good at that. A lot of people don't realize this, but deserts get very hot. Everybody knows that, but it also gets very cold. It's a very high extreme of temperature. Not just on the high side. So
interesting.
Yuccas, grasses, some stuff that goes dormant, like salvias, can look really good with that as well.
Turf has been really popular. I know that you've done some turf projects.
Turf is like putting greens, especially. Everyone likes it because they look so cool. They look very nice. So like you put that in your backyard, it just really finishes up everything. Just so that way you have something that's fun to do, as well as just looks. Even if you don't use it, it just looks nice. So
for sure. Low maintenance. You don't have to mow 5 times a week. I'm just kidding. With all the rain. Awesome. Well, so
no mud.
No mud. So I'm going to move on to obviously the connections piece. So you've had this group for 6 months now?
It's been 6 months.
That's awesome.
It's gone so quick. It feels like it was last week.
I know. Congrats. What are some of the changes that you've seen?
So when we started the group, we had a certain idea of, like, the basics that we were looking for is collaborative marketing. That was our biggest thing, is finding ways. We're business owners. We all have clients we've worked for, given quotes for, have contact, they know who we are. And so if we can bring those all together and have a digital way to market for each other, so that way as business owners we can save money, which saving money as a business owner either makes it so that we can hire more people, we can grow, pass savings on to customers, so that gives us options for that, and also have more consistent work as well, then that could be a huge benefit for the community, because the business owners are what provides tons of jobs and employs a lot of people just as their full-time job themselves, because they own the business. And so that was was really the core of what we were looking for. And then since then, we've added on a few extra things. Now we have the podcast. It was something we wanted to do initially, but we were able to start that pretty quickly. We have a full-time outside marketer now that is basically set up as kind of like a fractional CFO, but it's a fractional marketer that's going around to help connect people from different groups and basically just looking online, trying to advertise for people as well. So when they're going through the comments section of people looking for like a landscaper, they can go in, tag my information, let them know like, hey, this is somebody I know that can do really good work, and also put our page that we have on our website that so they can link it to all the different articles we've written and like what service area, what services we do. You know, they can see our social medias for all our before, durings, and afters, so they can see that we've done that type of work before, because that's the big thing is I run into is people don't know, like, can you actually do the work that you say you can? Because there's just like so many people that say they can, and then they show up and they're like testing and learning. Yeah. And so basically it gives you a much better referral than anybody else is going to give out there. Like if you go to your next door group and someone's referring someone, normally they're like, oh, Alex is really good, call them. Yeah. Well, that doesn't tell me. It's like,
I need to know. Yeah. Do it, should I?
Yeah. So that's where, that's like something I think is really huge that we've added on. We didn't really think of that in the first place, but this is something that can now facilitate, you know, just introducing people, because everybody has, like for me, what somebody that can be really good is like a realtor. Well, if she's going out and meeting, you know, 10 realtors over the next month, those are 10 good contacts that I want to get to know. Yeah. And so she can introduce me to those people. Somebody else that's good is like interior designers, because if someone's going to remodel the inside of their house and they want it to look really good, they probably want the outside to look just as good.
Right.
So that way, as you're walking in, you're not, you know, looking at something horrible and then it turns really nice. Yeah. It makes it kind of contrast even worse. So basically, what her job is to go through for everybody in the group and try to make those connections. Yeah. For everybody. And so that can help change everybody's businesses. Like I've got one guy that's a good friend, Roberto with Wash Bros. They do like fence staining and power washing. Well, they work really good with realtors as well. They also would probably work really good with like a car detailing company, because somebody that car detailing, they're probably not power washing their own driveway. And so that's something that they can send a lot of referrals to each other. And so that's something that can really compound and do that instead of just in a digital way, but relationships. Right. And so that way people can send each other, because like when I go out to my appointments for landscaping, I'm always looking around and asking like, well, what else do you need? Because I found people, if they have one problem, they probably have two or three more. Like they've got this plumbing issue that they've been dealing with for a while, and it's not that big a deal. Or actually, so somebody a customer I was talking to this morning. So we were out there doing landscaping for him, and he's been having, it sounded like for the last 6 months, an issue with the sprinkler system. And so I can handle that for the most part with fixing sprinkler issues. But if I hadn't asked, you know, he wouldn't assume that we'd know how to take care of that. Yeah. So it could have been plumbing, it could have been electrical, it could have been they needed a painter, because they'll try to find these people, and then after getting stood up 2 or 3 times, they're like, well, I guess I can't find someone to do this thing. Yeah. Well, I know the people, you know, and we can connect each other and use, you know, leverage each other in that way as well to help our own customers. For sure. Because now that makes me as a landscaper, if I can refer a good, let's say plumber or electrician is what he needs help with, and then they go out and take care of him, he's more likely to use me because I've already helped solve some of his other issues. And I'm more of a resource than just the other landscapers. I'm not one of the 3 guys that came out to give him a quote. He knows I'm there to help. Right.
And have other options too. Where do you see kind of the direction of the group going now that you've been half a year in?
Well, so recently we changed our membership style. We had just a flat membership fee for joining the group, and that included just everything, whereas now we have it broken down where we have, if you just want to join the group to come and do our weekly meetings, do you want just the podcast, the magazine, the newsletter, do you want just the web page, like what, you know, breaking it down to smaller packages. So I think now that we have you know, kind of listened to some feedback from different people and adjusted a few things, I think we are set up now that we have our full-time marketer, now that we have our packages in place, we have some marketing material now. Yep. We've got 4 or 5 versions of our magazine out where people can kind of see the history of what we are, so we can actually show we're consistent in doing everything. Yeah. We get lots of views. We've had, you know, 3,000 or 4,000 views and lots of our shorts, and for their members as well, so people can see that they're getting a lot of exposure by being a part of our group, and that we offer something completely different. I think now is when we're actually really going to start to grow, because we were growing pretty consistently, but I think now we can have explosive growth. Yeah, because absolutely. Now we have the history, we have something to compare against. We have results that are showing us growing, and we've recently switched from to, I feel like, better and better speakers as well. Our first couple months, we were doing some more like basic education, but now we're getting more advanced things. Like we had someone coming to talk about credit this last week. We've had someone talked about, so for personal, and then we had someone, I guess it was like a month ago now, talk about business credit.
Yeah.
Well, I've never met anyone before talk about how to build business credit.
Yeah.
And that's
Huge.
very important.
Yeah.
And someone talk about finances, marketing, trademarks, all those different things that you need in your business to make sure it's protected and able to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, those are just one of many benefits. Talk about some of the other benefits of like doing the new member packages.
Yeah, so I think it makes it more widely acceptable or usable for people, because some people, it doesn't make sense for their business to be in a magazine because they are a B2B type business. So they only work with businesses, and a magazine is going out to mostly customers. So it's something that was too expensive for them to make, justify it before. Now they can use it in this other way, or they really want this one thing. This is the piece in their business is missing. They already have it covered in other areas. Then they can just plug that one piece in, and we can get it taken care of and help them out.
Which is great. I know y'all have a ton of events coming up. You want to touch on some of those events?
So some of those is we have a poker night that we do every 2 weeks on a Monday night. We have it at LG Cigar Lounge. Basically, we just come in for about 3 hours, do a tournament style. Sometimes it's a cash game, but just come in, business owners coming in and network, talk, but also just relax.
Yeah.
It's very nice and clean too. So even if you don't smoke cigars, it's still, you can just hang out and not be too bothered by
I'm biased. I love LGs.
Yeah, same here. But we've got our Tuesday morning. We recently switched it from the afternoon to the morning, which is going to be better for us, I think, as well, because when do all the problems happen? Middle of the day.
Always.
You find out all the things that your guy called out, the tire that went flat, the customer that has a problem. It's always there in the middle of the day. And so I think that helped keep a lot of people from being able to visit us. And so now we hold it at 9:30 on Tuesdays at the Boomer Jacks in Fairview.
Yep.
And I think that is going to help us with growing as well. That'll be a really good thing for us, is being able to start our day out with that and still go out and be productive afterwards. And then we've got a big event coming up on June 28th where we're having a casino night.
Yeah.
So with that is basically we're looking for probably have about between 100 to 150 business owners that'll be there for that. We set up about 15 tables of like roulette, craps, blackjack, poker, and we have the dealers to do all the dealing for that. We have some very large door prizes that we have for giveaways. And basically the cool thing about the night is, like, when you check in, we give you $1,000 in chips.
Oh, cool.
You take those chips, and the goal is to turn that into as many as you can.
Yeah.
And basically for every 1,000 in chips that you get, you turn that into another ticket that you can do towards something. So like we've given away a drone in the past. So like, I really want that drone. I really need that drone. Awesome. I don't want to have to go buy it. So you go turn that 1,000 and say 10,000 in chips. Well, that's 10 entries now that you can put in there. So that when we go to do the drawing, you're more likely to get picked out of everybody.
How neat. That's
awesome. Or you can spread it out to, like, we've got 5 or 6 different ones. We can have, you can do 2 or 3 in each one and spread out the chances.
Yeah.
So,
and you're doing sponsorship packages for that one. Okay.
Yeah. So we have sponsorship. So that's because the first couple drinks for the first 75 people is free. So we give out drink tickets. So we need sponsors to sponsor the drink side, as well as for food. We have like not full meals, but like finger food for people to be able to snack on while they're there. Gambling's very invigorating. Use a lot of energy. Got to refuel everything. So then we also, for the poker tables and the dealers and all that kind of things, all that adds up. And then for the space, and so we've got different packages from 500 to 2,000, ranging where. They get the list of attendees. They can be sponsored in our magazine. They can be like in the when we're advertising for this as well. When we're upcoming to the event, they can set up a table when people are walking through, so that way they can introduce themselves. In the middle of the event, they could be doing our actual stop for a couple minutes to talk about their business in front of everybody. We have a slideshow that's rolling the whole time as well, so they get a lot of perks that most people don't have to offer, because we have a very unique situation that gives you a lot more exposure. We have a social media share that we do, so you get 150 business owners with a couple hundred to a couple thousand followers each, and they're all sharing your profile. What could that do for your business? If let's say it's a flat easy number, do the math real quick. So say there's 500 friends that they're sharing it to, and then there's 100 people in the room. That's a big number.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people sharing your business. profile.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know you've had a lot of success with the Connections Group and obviously your businesses, and that will just continue to explode. Everybody can follow you on your social pages like normal. Casino night, I know, is on Eventbrite too. So we'll make sure that gets shared with the podcast. And we will see you next time. Thank you for joining us again on the next episode.
Thank you.